You chickened out. He chickened out. He thought he was gonna die. Like, he was like grabbing you know what? We're going to tell you guys the story of how we met. We grew up 10 miles apart. Our dads actually worked at the same studio. Yeah, so we grew up, I guess, television babies, yeah, growing up on a studio lot, visiting our dads at work, and we never ran into each other, at least as far as we know, and our dads were not familiar with each other. I mean, I'm sure we passed each other in the hall at one point, but who's gonna remember that?
I kind of met her first when she was interning at the show.
Where he worked.
Where I worked. And I remember thinking, oh, she's cute. She's cute. But she was an intern, and she was, you know, she had become friends with a couple other PAs. Cooper. She interned for a summer, had a little bit of a crush on her, didn't do anything.
Did you really?
I don't even think I talked to her really. I remember her sitting. I remember the first time I saw her though. She was sitting down on the couch next to a coworker of ours, and she just looked beautiful. And I remember thinking, I have a crush on her. But she was an intern. I knew she was only going to be there for a couple of weeks, so I never even asked her out because she was, you know, up north.
I was 20. It was the summer before I graduated from college. I was 20 years old. I think I was just about to turn 21. That summer I turned 21. I did not remember meeting him when I was an intern.
And so, fast forward to like 4 months later, it's December, and my boss at the time was like, just FYI, when we come back from our break, we're having 2 new people start. One of them is Carly. And I remember thinking, that's exciting. Really exciting. Like, I had a crush on this girl. So she started January 4th, 2010. I still remember the date. So my boss on January 4th said, I'm gonna have you train Carly. So I got to be with her very first week at work, and I pretty much fell in love with her. She scared me.
We have a van that we drive.
It's a van, you know, 15-passenger van or something.
For like stuff, you know, for the show.
Pouring rain.
It was January.
And we had to go pick up soup for the executive producer. She was driving the runner van.
Okay, but it was pouring rain.
Alley.
There was no, well, where it was, there was no drainage from, so it was kind of like the street was almost a river.
She's going like 50 down this alley.
I was going a legal, reasonable speed. This guy's a wimp.
She was going so quick.
He thought he was gonna die. Like, he was like grabbing you know what?
Air brake.
Do you trust me to drive our children?
Of course I do. She started January 4th. January 24th, we had our first date. Kind of funny though, actually. The way I asked her out, you know, I'd never asked out a coworker before, and I had pretty much been losing sleep for a week about it. You know, do I ask her out? Do I not ask her out? Is it appropriate? Do I have to tell my boss?
Is this gonna be an HR issue?
I was going over every little thing, and we had talked, and she had mentioned she wanted to see the movie Avatar, and
do you guys remember the movie Avatar?
I hadn't seen Avatar, but I was like, I can't just go up to her and ask her because that's gonna be awkward. So I waited till there was a room, not full of people, there was a couple people in the room that I knew had seen Avatar. And then, like anyone, like a coworker does sometimes, you walk in, you're like, thinking about seeing a movie this weekend, anyone want to come? She said yes.
I said, I would love to see Avatar. Or actually, I don't even think he said, does anybody want to come? Actually, he canceled on me.
I did.
So we had made plans that Friday or something to see the movie, and I said, okay, so we were gonna go see this movie on Friday. And then he canceled and said his brother and his dad and him had plans for dinner that he couldn't cancel. Was it a lie?
Oh, totally a lie.
It was a lie. He chickened out. He chickened out.
I was in my head, I'm like, what if it doesn't work? I can't, because, you know, I've been at this place of business for a very long time, and one of the things I didn't want to do was ever make that an awkward place. And so it really was, I kept debating, do I want to take the chance and have this turn out to be what it is, or the other way and have it be a complete blow-up HR disaster type.
Which we've seen.
Which we have seen in our place. And the great thing about where we work actually is there have been so many lasting couples.
Marriages.
Kids.
And kids, yeah.
And they met there at our place, which is kind of cool.
He had canceled that Friday, and I was not thinking of this like a date. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like I wasn't thinking of it like a date. I just had no idea what this was. I didn't know what his intentions were, just because it's not like he asked me out. It was so casual. And I kind of invited myself on this movie event in my mind. I didn't know. So, okay, fine, he canceled, whatever. In the meantime, I friended him on Facebook, and I had done a little investigating to tell that he was in fact single. Okay, this guy's like around my age, single, okay. And then that weekend we were working on Saturday, not Sunday. We were working. We weren't sure if we were going to have work Sunday. And at the end of the day, our boss told us, no work Sunday. We were good to enjoy our weekend. And that's when he said, okay, he re-invited me out to the movie on Sunday. And so that's what happened, we went. I remember thinking for sure this was not a date because we were supposed to meet up at like 11 a.m. And I remember him saying, can we make it 12:30? And I remember thinking, well, obviously it's not a date. He's not excited to be hanging out with me because he pushed it and he made it later.
I kind of wanted to make it, I didn't want her to know it was a date, but I knew it was a date. Like I did.
It's not a date unless both parties know it's a date.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We grabbed a slice of pizza and he paid for my pizza. So I remember thinking instantly, okay, that's a date. Because even though this guy, if you know him actually, he'll offer if it's not a date because he's just a very generous person. So it wasn't a sign, but to me it was a sign. And in this instance, it was a sign. And then he bought my movie tickets and my concession snacks and all of that. It was definitely one of those first date type of, we were sitting next to each other. I think our knees were kind of touching.
Yeah. Like the arms are next to each other.
The arm would brush up, you'd brush up.
And you kind of like, I'm not gonna move it.
Yeah, you're like, my knee is touching his knee and it's just gonna stay there. So romantic. Then we went, to Saddle Ranch. It was getting close to the Super Bowl, so football was on.
It was Sunday playoffs, and so I definitely was dividing my attention.
I didn't feel like, we grabbed a beer and I did not at all feel like our attention was divided. I laugh now looking back on it because you are such a football fan. So because I'd had a beer, I wanted to wait to drive home until after it had kind of worn out of my system. So we had taken one car from his house. We went back to his house. We ended up sitting on the sofa talking for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then that was that, and then I went home. And I remember just wondering, was it a date? My mom, who's this guy? Was it a date? And then I got a text. I got a text from him and he said I had a really nice time. It was just kind of like that. And as soon as he sent me that text, I knew it was a date. And I remember going into my mom's room and saying, it was a date, he texted me, he texted me. It was Monday, the next day at work.
I went up to her, she was at a computer, and I kind of like went up to the computer next to her and sat down and like started typing, and I was like, I had a really good time yesterday. Do you want to go out again? And then we ended like Starbucks that day after work or something.
Well, so he had said it, he said, do you want to go out again? Do you want to go out on Wednesday to dinner? I said, okay. But then Tuesday, we ended up saying, well, do you want to hang out real quick now? Do you want to go to Starbucks? And I remember we went and I got hot chocolate and we sat at Starbucks and talked for a little bit. And then on Wednesday we went out to eat at a Mexican restaurant. And then we were dating. We never even had like a talk. I just remember one day he introduced me to his friend as this is my girlfriend Carly. And then he said, is that okay that I call you my girlfriend? And I went, yeah. Then that was it.
6 years later, here we are.
Well, I mean, a lot's happened in 6 years. And so, no, nothing's happened. Obviously, stuff's happened in the last 6 years. Just a little teaser, if anybody wants to know, we actually broke up after a year.
We did, we broke up for about a month and a half.
For like 2 months. Yeah, like a while.
Which
this guy, someone broke up with me, you guys.
I have found, or heard, that a lot of couples, especially married ones, they break up for a little bit.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave
Probably none of your business.
If you have any questions that we haven't addressed, leave those down below. I'll either answer them for you down below, or we are going to be doing a Q&A probably in the next 2 weeks, and I'll tack those questions onto the Q&A. I hope you enjoyed learning about our love story. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment down below, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye guys.
my baby. I love you, yes, mama.
This is my husband, Cooper.
Look, I've never looked on camera.